We've been talking a lot about the skills and traits we all need to run a creative business. We've talked about planning, setting goals, and courting our ideal collectors. We've talked about the entrepreneurial spirit, what it takes to be a freelancer, and how to keep ourselves motivated and productive while often working alone. But what we haven't addressed is the elephant in the room. At the base of many of our artistic careers is a whole lot of fear and self-doubt. And often, we don't even know why. Hi, I'm John, and this is Bogdan. Join us on our journey as we figure out how to earn a living as artists, introduce you to those we meet, and share what we learn along the way. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about self-knowledge. I'm not talking about some sort of spiritual quest, though you're certainly free to take it there if you like. For millennia, religious traditions have used meditation and prayer to look inward, so we know that that works well. But what I'm proposing today is that we find some strategies to self-reflect on our businesses and on ourselves as business owners. If you like today's video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe and hit that notification bell. It really helps my channel if you do. Maybe it's just me, but there are times when I suspect that my lack of drive, my inability to finish what I start, or perhaps a difficulty of starting at all, is not based on my organizational skills or lack of planning. I sometimes get this little whisper that I'm not starting a new project or reaching out to a new prospect because I'm actually sabotaging my own success. Why in the world would I do that? Well, the answer is fear. I've mentioned before that we've run a photography and video production company as well as our fine art careers. The approach of the two branches of our business are quite different. While they're both creative, the photography and video side is based on supplying a service, while creating fine art gives us a whole lot more control over our creation. We inevitably get a little bit confused at times because you cannot run a service-based company with complete artistic control. We can't anyway. The customer has to be satisfied, and they're often very specific about the product they're willing to pay for. And while that can be true for art commissions, generally people decide to purchase my art after it's been painted, and we're in no way part of the process. When I find myself hesitating, procrastinating, and the like, I often sit myself down and try and determine what's actually going on. Am I genuinely being delayed by a lack of supplies or loads of competing interruptions? Or is there part of me that is just not ready and willing to start the task? Unless I'm really unique, there's almost always an underlying fear that is at the root of my delay. The only way I'm able to address those fears is to be as open and honest with myself as I can possibly be. I need to be self-reflective. And therein lies the rub. We as human beings tend to be really, really bad at self-reflection. I've seen some studies that show that even people who consider themselves to be very good at self-reflection and self-knowledge often actually aren't. It's just the way our brains are wired. Our minds interpret the world around us in such a way as to tell us any number of stories. But those stories are based on our subconscious mind, not our rational conscious mind. If you don't believe that, write down some of your dreams and then try and figure out why your mom turned into a giant snail in your dream. It's pointless to try. The only way I know to decipher dreams is to try and unlock your own brain's symbolic language. But that's the same brain that is controlling whether or not you start a new painting, call a new client, or apply for an open art call. So reflecting on something that is basically illogical may or may not give you the results that you want or need. But the thing is, we have to try. We need to get as close to the truth as our brains will allow. We have all watched people make the same mistakes over and over. They choose terrible partners, they lose all their money, or they fall for scams again and again. I'm not talking about people who try new things and fail. As we've discussed before, failure is a very important tool for success. I'm talking here about those who cannot progress, cannot change, and blame any and everything on someone else. The tricky bit here is that there are indeed external forces that affect us and our productivity. Sometimes the noisy neighbor really is a distraction. So how are we supposed to know the difference? If you're like me, because I work alone a lot, I will often go online to do research, to get advice, or to diagnose my medical ailments. I will also ask friends for advice and counsel. I might even take an online course or pay someone to do a portfolio review of my work. Is it just me, or do these things often turn out to be terrible ideas? If I look online to find out why my toe hurts, I end up getting loads of catastrophic information about exotic cancers. There's so much crap out there that it's hard to filter out what's actually true. Friends often give spectacularly bad advice, even though they love us dearly. Even professors and experts can give some very confusing and contradictory counsel. If you take all that data and process it through your own mind, which is itself less than trustworthy, no wonder we feel anxious, afraid, and indecisive. In all the reading that I've done, a lot of the answer appears to be where you place the center of control. In your heart of hearts, do you consider life to be within your control? Or is life controlled by external forces? This may take some time to consider, again, because our brains are answering that question for us. What some research suggests is that those people who view life as within their control do much, much better than those who place control outside themselves. Think about it. If my life is within my control, I can fix the things that go wrong. If I can't control an outcome, then I'm just a victim and powerless to effect permanent change. So that's the first step. Tell yourself constantly that you are in control of every problem you have, even if it appears that you're not, and your brain is screaming at you to blame someone else. When I approach a problem that I can control, it changes completely the questions that I ask myself. If I can sit in self-reflection and push past the feelings of hurt, rejection, fear, and powerlessness, I can begin to ignore those other voices and only consider what I can do to fix the problem. If I am self-reflective and I just sit around contemplating how someone else failed me, or how my finances are holding me back, or how poorly I was reviewed by a teacher or a colleague, all I will end up doing is digging deeper and deeper into that narrative where I'm a victim. In that scenario, self-reflection would actually be a bad idea. I think we call that wallowing. So whenever you're starting a new project, you have a review of your work, you're seeking advice, or just hear that whisper of doubt in your mind, find a way to sit quietly alone in meditation or on the train ride home and ask yourself openly and honestly, what am I afraid of? What do I actually want? And what are some constructive steps that I can take, that I have control over, that can move me toward that goal? I have a little checklist sheet that I create for each project we undertake. I include those 2 questions for each project, as well as which of our annual goals that project addresses. What is it that I really want? What am I afraid of? For me, it's not so important that I have a well thought out answer to each question, but that I have some sort of recognition that those questions are vital to the success of the project. They slow me down a little. These questions reinforce the message to my crazy subconscious that I am in control of my life, and they remind me that, even if it's not perfect, I'm going to be as self-aware and self-reflective as I possibly can be. I wanted to let everyone know that Bogdan and I are launching a new weekly Zoom session where we'll be sharing some of our artwork and chatting about art. It's a half-hour show every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Central Time. We'd love to have you join us. Just drop me your email and I'll add you to the invitation reminder. We will record the sessions as well in case you can't make it at that specific time. But it would be great to meet you in person, or as close to in person as Zoom can get. Join me next week when we're going to be talking about being honest with ourselves and how to be realistic in our entrepreneurial freelance art careers. Until then, have a great week. Bye.